All right, cool. All right, welcome everybody to our CV workshop. We are very much excited. That was incorrect English, but I'll start again. We are very excited to have you. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday afternoon. Today we have our friend and brother Nkosi Moyo, who is an account manager for the local authority, who does wonderful jobs for his local authority, which means converting leads and harnessing relationships, as well as establishing a business-to-business and network. Previously, Nkosi has worked with sales, marketing, recruitment, and training industries, and has worked directly with hiring managers in the sourcing and screening of potential candidates for active and potential job openings. So he's very much well equipped to give us a look into what the employability industry is like and what employers will look for in a very well written CV. So I hope his presentation will provide some light and be of benefit for all of us. So over to you, Mr. Moyo.
Oh, thank you very much, Mima, for that glowing introduction. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're all well. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go straight into a CV workshop. So feel free, if you've got any questions, to ask as I go along. I want to make this very interactive as possible. I will be posing a few questions, so feel free, if you do want to say something, just unmute yourself. Right, so let's look at the CV workshop. I hope you can all see that. Okay, if you do have questions, you want to put them in the chat, we will address them. So we hope to be here for about an hour. And I know it's Saturday and people are very busy, so I will not want to keep you too long. So CV workshop, right. Many of you may have come across the word CV. This is, CV is a curriculum vitae. It's Latin, which literally just means life history. Okay, today's content is going to be about what is the job of a CV, why do we have it, what are the various types available and formats, what is a good CV and what's a bad CV. We're also going to look at a small short case study with a lady called Natalie, and we're going to create her CV from scratch. So we'll have a first CV tutorial. I'll go through each section, pretty much what to put in, what not to put in. Lastly, we will have a look at CV tracking, which is a common theme within the recruitment industry when it comes to CVs. But before we do all of that, let's just understand what CV is. So firstly, a CV is a short summary of your knowledge, skills, and experience. Okay, it is your sales and marketing tool. It's what speaks for you where you're not there, and the employer can see exactly what you are in terms of your skills, experience on paper. Okay, the main purpose of a CV is not to get you a job, it's to get you an interview. No CV equals no potential job equals no interview. So no CV, no job. Long ago, many people never needed to have a CV. They could literally just walk up into an organization and say, hey, are you guys hiring? Said, yeah, we need X, Y, and Z. But the reasons why CVs have come into existence is because of rules, legislation, regulations, health and safety, and also insurance purposes. Next up, there are two types of CV. So we have the reverse chronological CV, which focuses on your most recent experience and achievements and less on your experience. So it's mainly your, so it starts on your most recent work experience and achievements. Then we've got functional CV, which would tend to cater towards individuals who want to showcase their skills ahead of their work experience. So if you're a young person in education, and you want to showcase your skills because you've got limited work experience, then a functional CV format is something that you want to adopt. There's also a third option, which is called a combined CV, which is a functional chronological CV, which is a combination of both your skills and your work experience. Okay, before we go any further, this is the interactive section. So I'm gonna pose a few questions via quiz. Basically, if you want to answer, just unmute yourself. Some of the questions are true and false, but this is really confessions of a recruiter or confessions of an employer. There's certain secrets that employers have at their disposal which are kept within the industry. So as somebody who has worked in the industry, I am sharing some of those secrets with you. And this will allow you to better equip yourselves in terms of what employers are looking for on a CV and what they're not. So question number one, feel free to answer. So what do you think the average time spent by an employer looking at your CV is? The average time spent by an employer looking at a CV. Anyone got any ideas?
You just read it.
Pardon? Anyone?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'd say just under a minute, like a skim read.
Okay, just under a minute. Any other takers? That's a good guess. Anyone thinking a minute or under? No? Okay. It's actually 5 to 7 seconds. Okay. Employer will literally spend at least 5 to 7 seconds looking at your CV. So it's very crucial that your CV stands out and makes a very, very strong impression. Question 2. What's the most common reason employers reject a CV? Any guesses?
Too much going on and they can't be bothered to read it.
Too much going on and
Or it's like it's not simple.
okay, okay. That's good answer. Not the one I'm looking for. Anyone else? Number one reason?
Appropriate information.
So I couldn't quite catch that. Do you want to repeat your
Say there's relevation.
Not sure if that's my audio, but I didn't catch that at all. Sorry. Okay. Most common reason employers reject a CV is typos and grammatical errors. Okay. So spelling is one of the major bugbears for employers. If there's at least one mistake on your CV, be it a grammar or spelling mistake, it's going to go into the bin. Okay. The reason being, a lot of employers, they don't sift your CV. They will it literally goes through a machine which scans keywords. And if it sees any spelling mistakes on your CV, you won't get shortlisted. So typos and grammars are crucial to avoid. That goes beyond just spell checking on Microsoft Word, which is an American application, because certain words may come up as Americanized instead of standard English. So you would need to proofread or give it to someone else who you trust and knows a little bit more about language and comprehension and grammar and punctuation. Number 3, putting a CV, in today's modern times, putting a photograph on a CV is a must. True or false? Is it necessary to put a photograph on your CV? Is it a must? Anyone?
No.
Question is no. Answer is no. So there would be false. So that's correct. It's false. Putting a photograph on your CV is not a must. However, there is a note here. Depending on which country you're from, because there are certain European countries, especially in Eastern Europe, where putting a CV is something that they do. But as we're in the UK, putting a CV, putting a picture on your CV is not something that you want to do. But again, it may depend on what type of job that you're going forward for. For example, if you are going for a job in, for example, in photography or in creative arts, performing arts, they may want you to put a picture up on your CV to see what you look like, okay? But conventionally, do not put a photograph on your CV. 88% job rejection rate if you have a photo of yourself on your CV, and that is according to behiring.com. Okay. Question 4, it's always good to put your age and date of birth on your CV. True or false?
False.
Correct. The answer is false. Any reason why you would want to put your age on your CV, or why it's not a good idea to put your age on your CV or date of birth? Any answers?
Equal rights policies that companies have to follow.
Okay. Yes.
Equal opportunities, actually, that's the word. Equal opportunities policy.
Equal opportunities. Yes. So employers are not to discriminate upon individuals based on their age, date of birth, but also it's not necessary to put it down. And the truth is, employers will discriminate upon your age. Okay. If you put your age down, and that can be revealed in your email address as well. Sometimes, and we'll go on and talk about that in a second. But date of birth, age, national insurance number, gender, marital status, all of those things, proof of national insurance number, all those things are not necessary. They're personal information, confidential. And if found in the wrong hands, people could make a new identity out of you. So it's very important not to put those details. And I'll tell you what you should put down shortly. Okay, I've got 2 more questions there. You should use your email even if it's not a professional email. True or false? You should use your email even if it is not a professional email.
You shouldn't. They'll judge you on that as well.
Okay, so the answer to that is false. Yes, and yeah, I've got some examples here. Sniperboye15@gmail.com came across that. While you might be a sniper boy, it reveals a very negative connotation. It tells the employer that you are somebody who's interested in violence or guns, maybe not somebody I want to hire. Okay. Black Lives Matters 2k20@yahoo.co.uk. Employer will think, okay, this person is very political. Maybe they're an activist. Maybe they're somebody who's going to talk up and cause dissension amongst the group. Whether it is for a good cause or not, maybe it's not worth putting on your CV because an employer will definitely discriminate upon you. Vegan_only@outlook.com. Again, your own personal views or preferences in terms of dietary requirements, that's fine. But on your CV, it's not. An employer may say, okay, not one of these other vegan guys, or, employers talk and they say, you know what, it's all about your fit. Okay, does the person fit in to the dynamic or the working culture around us? Okay, so always make sure that your email address is professional. Okay, I would avoid putting any digits in your CV if you can, or any numbers. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but don't put your date of birth in it as well, because they can discriminate upon your age. 76% of CVs are ignored because of an unprofessional email. Bear that in mind. 1 in 3 employers reject CVs based on something they searched about you online. True or false?
True.
Absolutely. Employers they will cyber stalk you. They will literally check you out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the works. So they really want to know, who is this person that wants to apply for us? Are they on social media? 68% of employers will find you on Facebook. Okay, so bear that in mind. Okay, that's the quiz section. So let's look at a bad CV. Before we deconstruct a CV, this is an example of a bad CV. And we're going to look top down. So firstly, you do not need to put curriculum vitae on your CV. An employer knows what a CV is like. Again, the reason why you don't want to put that there is because it's obvious what a CV is. Employers hate borders. So anything with a border or these lines which go along like this, usually you'll find many student CVs will put lovely little lines and so forth to make it stand out. Employers hate these things. So do not put borders, avoid lines. Let's look at Mark's personal details. Okay, so he's put his address down, telephone number's fine, but notice his email address, coolguy007@hotmail.co.uk. Mark Taylor may well be a cool guy, but to an employer, this is unprofessional. Okay, and again, from the previous slides, we said no need to put your date of birth, because an employer can look at the age and say, you know what, I'm not looking for somebody who was born in 1985. That would make them 35, maybe a bit too old for me. Maybe I'm looking for somebody who's young, who's 18. Why? Because they've got less work experience and I can mold them into the company. For example, they may be able to take instructions much better than probably somebody who's a bit more mature, who knows their rights and may cause a little bit of resistance. So that's what an employer will sometimes do. They will know the type of person that they're looking for. So by putting your age on your CV, you need to say to yourself, is this going to hinder my chances, or am I giving the employer an excuse to not shortlist me? Nationality, British, male, single. You don't need to put your nationality down. Only that usually comes down on application forms. Gender, again, people can discriminate upon you on your gender. Okay, so you don't want to give that person that opportunity. So here's a profile. He says, I'm a hardworking individual who enjoys working. Try to avoid repetition. Working on the same line, not necessary. Also, avoid the use of the words I am a motivated player. I am an excellent, I am. All these I's need to be taken away. You want to write in what is called second or third person. So you would say something, a hardworking individual who enjoys meeting deadlines, etc. But we'll look at that shortly. Achievements. Finish my college studies, currently working in IT support. Education. So in terms of your education, you really just need to put your GCSEs, start with your GCSEs and college qualifications, and you if you've got degree or any BTEC, HND, so always start from GCSEs and work your way up. Here, this person has put nursery and primary school. Do not need to be put on your CV, because that is pretty much before the working age. An employer wants to see what have you been doing from the time that you can work, which is from 16 plus. Okay, he's got his grades down, which is good. You can put your grades on your CV. Try to avoid any bad grades. Okay, employers will generally, you don't even have to put your grades down. If you've got the qualification, you can put them down. But avoid bad grades, and make sure that you start with the most recent first. So here he started with the most recent is at the bottom. This should be at the top, and we call that reverse chronological order. Okay, so that's page one. Another reason why this CV is bad, is in his employment histories, although listing the years, you should always put the month and year. Okay, so he's only just put the years in terms of duration. Also, in terms of his duties, he hasn't put any duties. He's only put job titles. Employers want to know, what were you doing in these respective roles? So as an IT support assistant, what were your duties? Because this CV is going to go through a sifting machine, and there may be certain keywords that the employers are looking for. And if it's not registered, then that, welcome, who's just joined us, nice. Again, qualifications, skills need to be related to the job that you're going forward for, okay? So try not to be too generic. And we're going to look at an example of being specific very shortly, okay? Hobbies and interests, you can put them on your CV, but again, make sure that they're relevant to the job role. References, he's put his references down. You do not need to put reference details on your CV unless you are offered a job and the employer asked for a reference. So here, by putting a referee down before you've got a job is not good. Again, someone might not want their name being put in the public domain. And also, when you do put references down, make sure you give your referee a heads up to let them know that you've used them as a referee. So that's an example of a bad CV. Okay. So imagine you have just left school, you have never written a CV, you have minimal work experience, and there's a job that you want to apply for, and you think, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do? How do I write a CV? Okay. And there's a number of ways. Okay. And I'm going to take you through to a case study. This is a young lady by the name of Natalie. Okay. And Natalie is currently studying. She's about 18 years of age. She's doing her level 3 diploma in beauty therapy techniques. She's got minimal work experience. Okay. She's only had work experience at WH Smith. Okay. And that was during her year 10 work experience, which she did for 2 weeks. Natalie speaks French, Italian, and Portuguese. She enjoys swimming, traveling, and has her own podcast channel. And she aspires to be a flight attendant. Okay, so she wants to be a flight attendant, and she has a few skills, and her profile is in front of you. And from this information, we are going to create a CV for her, which is tailored towards getting a job as a flight attendant. So you're thinking, so how can we do that? So firstly, what we need to do is have a template. Okay. So this is a working template for a CV. Okay. This is generally what employers look for in terms of the format of your CV, how your CV should be laid out. Okay. So a CV shouldn't be more than 2 pages. In Natalie's case, because she's got limited work experience, she's 18, she's in education, her CV will be about a page or maybe a page and a bit. Okay. The more work experience that you have over time, then your CV will stretch out, but you never want to exceed more than 2 pages for your CV. Think about what type of font you're using. So I have suggested, and employers will concur with me, Arial, Calibri, Georgia, Tahoma, or Verdana. And you want to use a font type, maybe 10 to 12, depending on space. You never want to exceed that. Okay. So you start with your name, address, profile, key skills, employment history, education, hobbies and interests. And let's look at each section. Okay. Personal details, name, address, telephone number, email address. That is Natalie's personal details, which is fine. Name, address, telephone number, email address. It's not necessary to put your address down. It's not necessary to do that because, again, employers can discriminate on your postcode. They might say, okay, Natalie lives in West 12, 7RJ, but she might want to apply for a job which is in East London. And employers might say, you know what, maybe she's too far away from the catchment area. Therefore, I'm likely to employ somebody who's close by who can come in at short notice if someone's off sick. So therefore, all she needs to do is just put a telephone number and email address. If you notice Natalie's email address, it's quite professional. It's got her initial, last name at hotmail.it. Now, if you look at her email address, what I would say is it's got .it, which refers to Italy. Okay, so an employer might look at that and think, okay, why is it not a .co.uk or .com? Okay, can anyone think one of the reasons why an employer might be skeptical of her email address, or why they may have a question about it?
Immigration status.
Immigration status. Okay, I can see the logic there. Yes, yes, yes. Anyone else? So the answer.
Maybe they, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say, maybe they have to pay for her visa, something.
Okay.
Or
So
they have to vouch for her or something.
Okay. I can see people are concerned maybe on her status. Is she able to be in the country for X, Y, and Z? Okay. It is on the right lines. Mainly an employer is looking at this and thinking, okay, how good's her English? Okay. I know has she written this CV? Because and this is a judgment employers are making. They're thinking, because it's not a .co.uk website, is she someone who's just newly come into the country? Because did she set it up in Italy? Therefore, am I looking for somebody who can speak Italian? Maybe not, because maybe English is her second language. And remember, she wants to work as a flight attendant. Maybe Italian is good, but also we're going to need somebody who's multilingual, who can also speak English. So that's the implication why the CV, her email address needs to mirror the standard of UK, like .co.uk. So if I was Natalie, I would suggest her to make another email address. Okay. But in terms of what else she's put on, that's okay. So name, telephone number, email address. Your home address doesn't need to be put on there. Okay. So looking at her profile, okay. So if we remember, Natalie wants to be a flight attendant. She can speak various languages. She's got minimal experience and she needs to write a profile. The profile is one of the most important sections of your CV. Okay. You don't have to write it first, but I tend to write it after I've completed each section, and then it kind of gives a nice overview of the type of person that I am. So it needs to be written in the second and third person. Don't use pronouns or words like I am. It should be a minimum of 3 lines, maximum of 7, and use power words and phrases. Again, always think, am I using a word that is relevant to the industry that I'm going forward for? If you are, your CV is more likely to be shortlisted. So this is her profile. An enthusiastic, customer-orientated individual with valuable experience in a variety of customer-facing roles, adept at maintaining a welcoming and friendly demeanor at all times, as such, comfortable to engage with people from all ages and nationalities. Confident and responsible, works well within a team setting or alone using own initiative. Now seeking a position as a flight attendant, willing and dedicated to undertake any further training where necessary. So if we just quickly go through that. I'm not sure if that's a typo where she says enthusiastic, customer oriented. But what she's literally saying is she's mentioning skills which are very relevant to the industry she wants to work in. She's customer orientated. She has, although minimal experience, she's got valuable experience in a customer facing role. I mentioned she worked at WH Smith. Okay. Maintaining welcoming and friendly demeanor at all times. Imagine working as a flight attendant, you'll be meeting and greeting passengers as they board the plane, welcoming them, being friendly. As such, comfortable to engage with people of all ages and nationalities. Working in the leisure tourism industry as a flight attendant, you're going to meet people from different ages and nationalities. Small children, elderly travelers with loads of air miles. So again, she's writing as if she is a flight attendant, as we can see her in that role, and her words are quite important. So words like customer facing, orientated, nationalities, confidence, responsible, all these words are customer service focused language, which employers are looking for, but also the machines that scan for keywords are also looking for. Also, she says she's willing and dedicated to undertake any further training. So she knows she hasn't got the experience, but what she's saying is that she's willing, she's able to be molded. And as she's young and she's already got the customer service, she just needs to get the skills and the experience to bump it up. So that's a very good profile. An employer would look at that and say, you know what, this person's taken time. I'm willing to have a chat just based on the profile alone. Next section. So again, the emphasis on power words and phrases. So it's very important that you start thinking about what words best describe you that you can put on your CV. There is a link called Online CV Builder, which helps you to select any of these power words and phrases, which you can put together and create a profile for yourself. So for example, this individual got committed, positive and supportive sales assistant. So wants to go into sales, who is passionate about fashion, seeks to work in a demanding retail environment. Okay, so that's a short summary. Could add in a little bit more detail, could talk about the languages that they can speak, or the fact that they can work in a team or alone unsupervised, because those are skills which are not only transferable, but what employers are looking for as well. Okay. Key skills. So let's remember, Natalie wants to work as a flight attendant. So one of the key things to do is to analyze job adverts for such an industry. So part of that is researching. So looking at key skills. So typing in flight attendant job duties on the internet, seeing what comes up, what they're looking for. And then as you know what those skills are, you can literally copy and paste those skills into the body of your CV and tailor it to you and the job. So this is what Natalie, or what we've done for Natalie. So there's a job at Air France and it's a flight attendant, and they are looking for someone who has an NVQ level 2 in customer service, city and guilds, someone who's able to keep calm, deal with customers and be sensitive to situations, physically fit, combined with good color vision, hearing, knowledge of food, hygiene, etc. So these are all the skills that the employer is looking for. So basically, we would need to do is make sure that we mirror those skills in our CV. So in our key skills section, it's very important. So what Natalie can do is she can mention the fact that she has languages, that she speaks different languages, Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, because that is relevant to that industry. When you have passengers coming in from, especially it's a European language, it's going to be quite relevant to the job role. Also, the fact that it's, you know, you may not have all the key skills, but if you've got the majority of them, it's very good. Problem solving and attention to detail, understanding of health and safety. So she may not have that, but she's got her language skills, which are relevant. She's worked at WH Smith as a retail assistant, so she's worked with customers. So she can mention, you know, I've got a proven ability to remain calm and deal with difficult customers and sensitive situations. Even if she has not, she can be what we call be economical with the truth. I'm not saying lie, but what I'm saying is you need to put yourself in a position where you can say, I can do this. I can deal with customers. I've had a situation where somebody was upset with me and how did I deal with it? The job of the CV is not to get you the job, is to get you the interview. So what you want to do is make sure, is what I'm putting on my CV going to get me that interview? And when I am at an interview, am I able to talk about what I've put on paper? Okay, so here, multilingual. So Natalie will select what skills does she have which mirror these jobs. And it's important that if she can put at least 75% of those, she should feel confident that her CV would at least be considered. Education and training. So from the bad CV example mentioned, you start with your GCSEs. That should be as far back as you go. Okay. But what you want to do is start with your most recent first. So if your most recent qualification is a degree, that should be at the top of this section, then diploma, then A levels, then GCSEs. As she is in education, she's in college at the moment, this is how it's going to be presented on her CV. So she's at the London College of Beauty Therapy. She's studying a diploma in beauty therapy techniques. What she's also done is she has mentioned her modules, okay? The modules that she is doing. So facial treatments, body electrical treatments, body massage, aromatherapy. She's giving the employer an idea of the type of person that she is, that she's somebody who takes pride in her appearance. Something that would be very important as a flight attendant, because you would need to present yourself 100% in terms of your uniform, your hair, your face, everything, head to toe. Also, she's got a customer service level 2 qualification, which she did. So she went and said, you know what, because I want to work in this industry, I'm going to need a customer service qualification. Therefore, she went and did a 2-day course to an employer that looks like, you know what, she's somebody who's proactive. She knows what she wants, and she's going to go and get the information, do the research, and find where she can basically make herself more employable. And that's what she's done. Okay. She's also listed her A levels, French, art, and English, and also her GCSEs. Okay. So to an employer, that looks good. Okay. She's put down, and she's put her grades as well. French, art, and English. French is good because it's a language. You'll need that in the industry. Art shows that she's creative. English, again, communicative. Okay. Employment history. So remember, she's got minimal work experience. Okay. So how is she going to sell herself in this section? So this is a work experience that she did in December, 2 weeks work experience in 2017. So she worked as an effective team member of WH Smith's sales team, helping to meet sales targets, promoting WH Smith loyalty card and delivering in-store customer announcements. Okay. Again, look how she's mirrored what is needed in the flight as a flight attendant. Because at a flight attendant, you're going to work as a member of a team. You're going to be part of a cabin crew. You'll also be doing sales. You will be selling duty-free items to customers, any promotional material on board their flights. You'll be helping, and you may have targets to do that. And here she's saying, you know what, she's had that experience. Although it was only 2 weeks, but she's got that experience. She's also promoted WH Smith's loyalty card. That's exactly what she'll be doing on board an aircraft, promoting maybe duty-free items, etc. Delivering in-store customer announcements. Again, that's something that she'll definitely be doing as a flight attendant. When you get into a plane, they go through the health and safety, emergency protocols. They'll start, directing above the overhead luggage cabins. If you hear this sign or this sound, make sure that you can unbuckle your seatbelt, and doing all the demonstrations and everything. So she's knows what the industry is looking for. She's done her research, and she's saying, what have I done that mirrors that particular requirement? And she's put it on her CV. Okay. And then when her CV goes through the sifting machine, it's going to scan up things like, okay, I want the machine says, give me somebody who's promoted loyalty cards. So her name will come up in a search because we've got promoting, we've got loyalty card. So these are the keywords the employers are looking for. We need somebody who can deliver in-store announcements, customer announcements. Her name will come up again. And again, you need to think, okay, what sort of words are going to make my name or is going to get my CV shortlisted? So I need to start using the words and words that are relevant within that industry. Okay. She also undertook some, also she's got an achievement section. So it's very important that you put some achievements on your CV. So one of the achievements was customer bought her some flowers and chocolates for her exceptional customer service. So if you've had any incidences where a customer has done or has thanked you or has recommended you for a promotion, put it down on your CV. It always looks good to an employer. Remember, this is her only work experience, but she also remembers she helped out during Christmas time, or just before Christmas time, helping the local community in terms of a homeless shelter. So she volunteered by serving in a fast-paced kitchen, delivering high-quality customer service, recommending meals and beverages. Okay, again, a key achievement was presenting with the Customer Service Award as a result of an excellent customer service. So again, it's showing to the employer that, you know what, this person is somebody who is focused in customer service. She's got awards, but also she's used to working in a kitchen environment. So on board a plane, she'll be administering and serving food to passengers on an aircraft. She'll also be recommending meals and beverages from the menu. If she's working on the actual aircraft, it may be a case where when she's, oh, hello, sir. Hello, madam. Would you like some, can I serve you some drink? Would you like some coffee? Would you like some tea? Would you want to check our menu? So this is all relevant to the job that she's going forward for. And notice, if you find yourself in a situation where you've got limited work experience, what you need to think about is, what have I done? Is there anything I've done voluntarily that I can put down on my CV? So for example, you might have been at a church convention where they may say, hey, we need young people to be ushers, to direct people into their seats and chairs. You can say, you know, I was an usher and I was directing people as they came in. I was welcoming, friendly, and I was able to signpost them to their seat, checking up on them, making sure that they were okay. Again, that is something that's relevant. You might have been serving at a church function in the kitchen, serving food. Again, you can say, you know what, I was working as a waiting staff within at various events, okay, community events. If you don't want to say church, you could say at community events or at banquets or at function halls. So how you phrase it is entirely up to you. You control the narrative and you can make it as fancy as you like. But remember, it's truthful and it's something that you can say, you know what, yeah, I did that. But it's how you word it. You could be somebody who's helping out a friend renovate their new flat. So you can say, you know what, I'm very technical, I'm hands-on, I have an experience in interior design, painting, decorating, and so forth. That's something that you did. And then if you need a referee, you can just say the person who actually helped you, as long as they're not a relative and they don't have the same surname as you. That's something you could do. You could be child minding, looking after your niece, nephew, a child, and just say, you know what, I've got childcare experience. I've worked, I was administering food according to the child's dietary needs. I was caring for them, ensuring that they were okay. I was sensitive to their needs. You can spice it and jazz it up as much as you like, but that experience is experience. So whether the experience is paid or not paid, put it down. So you can use voluntary experience in that note. So I've given you examples of helping someone with maybe renovating a flat, maybe also with, mine's going blank now, renovating a flat, and just going out any community work that you've done as well, any food, serving food at a convention, ushering people to their seats. Those are things that you can acquire and put on your CV, okay? Any questions so far? No? I hope everything is okay. We'll get to questions shortly. But hobbies and interests, okay? This is the penultimate section, one before last. So when you put your hobbies, try not to be vague. Do not say, I enjoy sports or I enjoy reading. Try and make it a little bit, give a little bit more detail. Make it relevant to the job, okay? Let's go back to Natalie. Natalie wants to work in the, as a flight attendant. So she needs to think, okay, what can I put down in terms of hobbies? What hobbies are worth mentioning? Just to let you know, I would not put hobbies down, but I'll just call it interests. But on some CVs, you find hobbies and interests. Interests just make it more professional. Hobbies can be a temptation for you to probably be too personal and maybe list things that might not be relevant. So try and focus the word on interest. So Natalie enjoys fitness, okay? She's a swimmer. She likes swimming and has represented her district in numerous regional competitions. She's an active member of her local amateur dramatic society and has a great interest in theatre, hair and beauty, and she hosts a weekly podcast channel on skin therapy techniques. So let's just go back to that for a second. So if I'm an employer and I'm looking at her interests, I'll be like, wow, this is amazing because one, she can swim. As a flight attendant, you will need to know how to swim just in case of an emergency and you need to land on water. God forbid the plane doesn't go down and there are no fatalities. You will need to know how to swim, okay? And the fact that she's an avid swimmer, to an employer, that's like, you know what, that's great. And she's represented numerous competitions. So she's not just any swimmer, she's a competent swimmer. She's also an active member of her local amateur dramatic society. So she's done drama, so she's used to performing arts. when you work in customer service or as a flight attendant, you might be having a bad day. One customer in first class is a nuisance, is not happy because somebody is in first class who shouldn't be in first class, they presume, and you have to deal with that. But you have to put on a nice face all the time because it's customer service. So, oh, maybe she can put in, if we put her in that role, she'll know what to do. She can get into character. She can get into role. Like this is a performance. Also, the fact that she studies, remember, beauty therapy. So she knows about appearance. Also, she hosts a weekly podcast channel. So she's someone who's very confident in speaking, in public speaking. That's something that's going to be relevant to the job that she's going into, because she'll be on board an aircraft where there'll be at least 200 people on board. And at any point in time, people will be asking her for various queries, but also she'll be delivering tannoy announcements or a public address. Oh, we just to let you know, please, is there anyone, any safety concerns, or please fasten your seat belts. Oh, is there anyone who left X, Y, and Z? So being able to do that. And remember, she also did that in her brief spell at W.H. Smith. Okay, so it's worth mentioning. In hobbies and interests are a very important section. Sorry, interests are an important section, because if she is to be shortlisted, this would probably be the first section that the employer will want to break the ice with you. They want to make you comfortable. They'll say, oh, how was your journey coming in? Hope you're okay, so forth. And then they'll ask a question. So just tell me a little bit about yourself. When someone asks you that, you can start with your interest and say, no, let them lead the conversation. They may say, okay, I noticed on your CV, you're an avid swimmer. You've represented your district and so forth. They want to get you comfortable, get you into the interview setting so you can warm up, and that is a great icebreaker for them. Okay. But if somebody asks you to tell you about yourself, you don't want to go straight in and say, yeah, I like cricket, I like this, I like that. What you want to do is just say, I'm a motivated, hardworking individual. You want to make sure you're using the language that fits with the role that you're going forward for. So if it's a customer service job, say, I'm an excellent communicator. I speak various languages. I'm able to liaise with people from different ages and backgrounds. I've demonstrated this through my university work, where I've had to work in teams, and also in my brief spell working in this, So that's how you want to formulate your answers. Try it. If you like reading, be very conscious what type of books that you put down. It's 3 things you shouldn't put down on your CV. Does anybody know what 3 things you shouldn't put down on your CV? Or 3 things you should not talk about when you first meet someone? Anyone? Just so I know people are still with me.
Politics?
Yes, politics is one. Any others?
Religion.
Yes. Who's confident to say the 3rd one? Politics, religion, and sex. Those are the 3 things that you shouldn't talk about when you first meet someone. It's also 3 things that should never be on your CV. So if you've got an email address which has connotations to politics, to religion or sex, don't put it down, because it's not worth mentioning. And finally, the last section of the CV is references. Okay, you don't need to put any references on your CV. Okay, so don't put names of teachers or your previous employers, not on your CV. It's not necessary. Okay, if you are asked for references, it's usually one when they've offered you a job, and 2 references one a current or most recent employer. Another one can be from an academic tutor, community leader who can provide you with a character reference. If you don't have any references, it's usually a case with somebody who's just newly into the country, doesn't have any references, they can't find somebody who can vouch for them when they worked overseas. That is your cue to undertake voluntary work experience. Start networking, meeting with people, even if it is helping out, doing odd jobs here and there. You've got someone who can vouch for you and say, you know what, this person worked under my tutelage or guidance and I can help them. Okay. So only once you have been offered a job, do you provide references. Okay. So let's look at Natalie's CV. So we've gone through each of her sections from head to toe, and this is what she's created, which is a very good CV example. So this is her profile, her key skills, her education, and this is how it looks like on the page. Notice the formatting. The only criticism I would have is she hasn't put the months, okay? But she's put in chronological order. She started with the reverse chronological order. She started with the most recent first. So the employer can see, okay, she's studying, but she aspires to she's looking at that next step because she wants to be a flight attendant. So once she's finished her current employment, she's going to go and do this. She's also done her customer service excellence. She's also got her grades down. You'll have copies of this, just to let you know. I have made a handout which supports today's presentation. So if you're just thinking, oh, I missed, can I have a copy of that? Can you go back to that slide? Don't worry, that will be circulated and we'll talk about that a little bit later. She's also got an additional information section, so feel free to add additional information. So for example, she's been a class rep. So if you've been a class rep, class prefect, monitor, shows that you're somebody who's reliable, trustworthy, gains the respect of their peers, put it down. So she liaised with leadership teams on curriculum and learning materials, which developed her public speaking and presentation skills. Again, she's dropping that in there because, hey, I want to be a flight attendant. Public speaking is important. Presentation skills are important. She's represented her college in public speaking competitions, coming runner-up on 2 occasions. Okay, so an employer will look at that and say, oh, wow, she's good. You know, she's in the top 2 on twice. Okay. Familiar with Windows 10, Excel, Photoshop. So feel free to add any skills such as IT skills, which is very important. If you're putting down IT skills, think about, you know, is it relevant to the job that I'm going for? If it's an IT job, if it's admin, then yes, it is relevant. And you want to name drop certain packages that you use. Okay. Finally, CV tracking system. So I was talking, these employers or recruiters, CV library, total jobs, read. When your CV gets sent in, it goes through a machine and the machine will scan your CV for words. Okay. They're called applicant tracking systems. Okay. So these tracking systems, I'll explain. So for every job that gets advertised, there's about 240 people that apply. Statistics say that when a job gets advertised on a website, within the first 200 seconds of that job being posted, someone would apply. So there's someone who's just on there, on the internet, ready to apply. Whether they've done a good CV or not, they're hitting that submit button. An employer does not have time to go through 240 applications for a job which only has 1 position. So what happens, all these CVs go through an applicant tracking system and they get whittled down via the keyword searches and power word filters until 50% are put in the bin. So from 240, they get sifted to 120 by those machines. And then from 120, they go down to 30, okay? Again, and then it's only at 30 CVs is when an employer will start to read your CV for the first time. So how long will this employer spend looking at your CV? 5 to 7 seconds. So when it gets to that patch, then the employer will start looking at it. And within those 5 to 7 seconds, they'll say, yeah, I want to see this person. I don't want to see this person. And then from those 30, they whittle it down to 15 to say, okay, these are the 15 that I want to bring in for an interview. First stage interview, see how the interviews go. They get to see you face to face. So the job of your CV is really to get you here, from clicking that submit button to getting the interview. At the interview stage, it's really down to you whether they like you or not. If your CV gets shortlisted, that's great. That means the CV is working. If you're not getting shortlisted, it means there's something wrong with the CV. Something might needs to be changed. Then it gets whittled down to 5, and then one person is offered. So 90% of CVs are checked by computers. They scan for keywords and phrases. 75% of CVs are rejected before a hiring manager ever reads it. So when you put your CVs out there, they're not all getting read unless they're relevant to the job that you're going forward for, unless they have those power words and phrases, unless they have the experience that the employer is looking forward for. Okay. That ends the presentation, and I think I've run over a little bit. Apologies for that. I just wanted to know maybe if anyone has any questions on today's CV workshop.
Hi.
Hi.
I have quite a few, but I'll just do one now, let everyone else have a chance. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
sure. I can hear you.
I was wondering, so this is for a standard CV, but what about like when you're applying? A lot of places that I'm applying to is now just answering questions and basically building their own CV on the website or whatever, instead of being able to submit your own CV. So they ask questions like, show evidence of experience of this thing or whatever. How are you supposed to approach that?
Right. So those are competency-based questions. Okay. So a lot. CVs are just one method of recruiting or recruitment. Okay. So those sort of questions are competency related. Okay. And that would deal with application forms, which would probably be another segment that we could tackle. But how you deal with that is literally, you would need to, there's a model called the STAR model. Okay. So STAR models is an acronym which S stands for situation, task, action, and result. So the employer would like you to give a scenario or an example of how you meet a particular criteria. So for example, one question might be, can you give me a time when you've delivered excellent customer service? So the employer wants you to demonstrate a situation where so they want you to explain a situation. So for example, in one of my previous jobs, I worked in a customer service environment. That was the situation. As a customer service assistant, then T would stand for the task. What was your role? I was a customer service assistant. What action did you take? So you describe a little story. There was one time a customer came in who was visually impaired and needed personal assistance. Always knowing that customers always come first, I decided to offer my services. I directed the customer, took her by the hand, directed her around the store, and I was able to give her verbal commands. As a result of my help, R stands for results. She was able to purchase her items quickly, and as a result, left the store thankful for my services. To this day, she has become a repeat customer. So that is a competency-based answer, which probably goes beyond the realm of today's talk on CV, but it's a great question, and it is a form of assessment that employers are using. So it really, all these assessment hurdles like CVs and also competency-based questions are all designed to knock people out. What I mean by that is employers don't have time to go through all your applications, but they need reasons why they are not shortlisting you. So these mechanisms are created by employers to kind of whittle down. And if your answers don't fit with what they're looking for, that's why they don't shortlist individuals. I hope that I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
If no one else wants to go, I'll do my last two questions. Just really quickly, you said something about using high school stuff, but at what point is using high school stuff no longer relevant? Like, is it an age thing, time thing, or just job dependent?
Sorry, say that again.
I'm saying, sorry, you mentioned using high school stuff like when you're doing Nestle, but at what point is high school stuff no longer relevant? Like,
Okay.
yeah.
I guess it depends as how far you are in terms of age or qualifications. We say if you're at a stage where, you know, target group is maybe 16 to 24, have your GCSEs down on there if it is required for the job. So it all depends on what the job requires. Some jobs will say we need somebody who has a degree. So therefore, just put your degree down. You don't need to put anything more than that. So it all depends on what the job requires. If you don't have a degree, then you might want to put other supporting qualifications that you have, maybe work-based qualifications or your GCSEs. Some jobs might say just we want a GCSE down, or CSEs, put them down. So whatever you put down, that's where you need to be very selective. So if you're going for a job as for example, as a customer service assistant, but you've got a PhD, you have to ask yourself, is a PhD relevant for the job that I'm going forward for? If it is not, take it off. It doesn't mean that you don't need to showcase all your skills on your CV, because again, an employer might not want a PhD or postgraduate for a job of a customer service assistant, because they'll feel, why does this person want to apply for that job? Maybe they should be going for different, more senior jobs, for example. That's how employers look for. So it really falls down to yourself. But for most people on this platform who are young, probably just approaching their GCSEs or finished their GCSEs, that might be their most recent qualification, and put your GCSEs down. Also, if you're in the process of taking your GCSEs, but you haven't got your results, you can also put your expected grades down as well. So you could say, you know, expected, so forth. Some people do that in terms of, you know, their degree. I'm expected to get a 2-1. You can put that down. Okay.
And finally, sorry, how important is our names, especially if it's going through a computer? Like, my name is, sorry, my name is Zinzile, and it's visibly non-Eurocentric. How much is that going to affect in my CV, especially if it's going through computers? Should I be using middle names, etc.? Not that it's any better.
Good question. So, my name's Nkosi Nati, and I never put Nkosi Nati on my CV. When I did, I never got shortlisted because it was a mouthful to pronounce for certain people. So I just put Nkosi. Sometimes I even I took the N off because people struggled to say, Is it Nikos or so? So to answer your question, it's really, how do you want to make it simpler for the employer to shortlist you, or do you want to make it harder? Some of us may have middle names as well. So I came across someone who had a really long name and they had to whittle it down. Actually, their middle name was an English name. So they used their middle name as their first name and then their surname. And when they came to interview, the person's name was called Bernadette James. So when they saw Bernadette James, they were like, Bernadette James? But Bernadette was her middle name. She had a very long first name. But she would always get shortlisted because the name was, employers have a perception, Bernadette Nate, they're like, okay, maybe this person may be Caucasian, native to this country, so forth. So sometimes it might be a case of putting another name down if you're finding that, but again, there needs to be a link because people will check you out. They will cyber stalk you. And if they see that, oh, the name that you're given is an alias, then it's not. So think of a name that you can put down. Shorten your name if you need to. That's fine. Or if you've got a middle name, which is an English name or a common name, you can also put that down on your CV. That's fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you so much, Zinzi, for your questions as well. A big thank you to everyone for attending today, and an even bigger thank you to Nkosi for coming to help us with the CV workshop. First of all, for those that haven't had a look at the chat, there is a link to a survey that we are running. So if you could head over, just click the link and complete that for us, and with that link, you'll be able to access. We'll be able to send you some materials. Before we close this, Nkosi, is there a way for people to contact you directly if they need you, i.e. be it LinkedIn or anything that we can pop in the chat or whatever?
Yes, I can make that available. That's not a problem.
Okay,
I can put that in the chat, or I can attach that outside. We've got a handout.
Yeah. So if you can attach that to the handout,
Yeah,
that would be really great. That way everyone can contact you directly if they need to. Is that okay?
that's perfect.
Wonderful. To everyone that has come this Saturday afternoon, thank you so much. We wish you a pleasant weekend, a great week ahead, and enjoy your Saturday afternoon.